the stranger who takes my anxiety has been storing it inside me. There's a rot in my bones, and I put it there myself. It starts in my jaw, a low, thrumming ache that convinces me my teeth are about to fall out. It's a phantom pain, the doctors say. Anxiety. But it feels real. It tastes real, like old pennies and stale blood. Some days, it crawls down my spine, a cold spider of dread with a million tiny legs. It's a constant companion, this gnawing thing that lives inside my chest and whispers that I'm one missed paycheck, one wrong word, one unlucky step away from total collapse. My world is my grandmother's car. A '78 Chrysler New Yorker, a land yacht of faded gold paint and cracked leather seats that smell like her perfume and unfiltered cigarettes. She left it to me when she died, and it's the only place the gnawing seems to quiet down. Not gone, but muffled, like it's speaking to me through a pillow. Most nights, when the feeling of my own teeth coming loose in their sockets gets too much, I just drive. There's a stretch of Route 9 that unspools between my town and the next, a black ribbon of asphalt through miles of dead silent soy fields. Nothing out there but darkness and the skeletons of oak trees clawing at a starless sky. It's my church. It's my confessional. And it's where I started doing something I know, logically, is insane. I pick up strangers. I know. It's a death wish. But the loneliness, it's a different kind of monster than the gnawing. It's a quiet, heavy one. And for 15 or 20 minutes, having another human being breathing the same stale air in my car makes me feel tethered to the world. A trucker heading for the interstate, a kid who missed the last bus home. They'd talk, I'd listen, and their voices would fill the spaces where the dread usually lived. Then, about a year ago, I found him. He was standing on the gravel shoulder, just past the old rusted sign for a town that doesn't exist anymore. He wasn't hitching a ride, not really. No thumb out, he was just standing. A tall, rail-thin figure in the wash of my high beams, motionless as a scarecrow. My foot hit the brake before I even decided to. The gnawing was particularly bad that night. I could feel my own pulse in my gums. He opened the back door and slid onto the seat. He never said a word. The air in the car instantly went cold, heavy. He wore dark, plain clothes that looked damp, though it hadn't rained in weeks. They fit him strangely, like they were made for someone else. He sat perfectly upright, his long, pale hands resting on his knees, and stared straight ahead. With a single, deliberate finger, he pointed forward, down the road. Right, I breathed, the word a puff of smoke in the sudden chill. I pulled back onto the highway. The silence that followed wasn't just an absence of noise, it was a presence. Thick, suffocating. The classic rock station I always had on dissolved into a shriek of static the second his door had clicked shut. I kept flicking my eyes to the rearview mirror. He didn't move, not a twitch. I couldn't even see the rise and fall of his chest. It was like driving with the department store mannequin. The miles felt like hours. The gnawing in my chest coiled into a hot, tight knot. My own car felt like a coffin sinking into black water. My knuckles were white on the steering wheel. I was about to swerve onto the shoulder, to scream at him to get out, when the radio let out a single, pure, crystalline chime. One clear note, hanging in the dead air. He immediately raised his hand. I looked around. We were nowhere. Just the empty road, the sleeping fields, the infinite dark. I pulled over. He got out, closing the door behind him with a sound so soft it was barely there. He stood on the shoulder as I peeled out, gravel spitting from under my tires. I refused to look back. And then it hit me. It was like a fever breaking, a switch being flipped in my soul. A tidal wave of warmth and light crashed through me, and the gnawing, the constant, grinding pressure that had ruled my life, it wasn't just gone. It was annihilated. The knot of razors in my stomach dissolved into a placid, warm pool. The static on the radio vanished, replaced by a song I hadn't heard since I was a kid. So clear and vibrant, it was like the band was in the car with me. The air, which had been thick and stale, tasted like fresh-cut grass after a spring rain. I took a breath, a deep, shuddering gasp that felt like the first real breath of my life. The bills, the job, the crushing loneliness erased. I was hollowed out, but in a good way. I was clean. I was light. I rolled down the windows and drove for hours, singing at the top of my lungs, high on a kind of joy so pure it felt holy. The euphoria lasted 3 perfect days. I was a new man. I smiled at my boss. I called my sister Priya just to chat. I slept for 8 solid dreamless hours, but by the 4th morning, I felt it returning. A faint echo. The metallic taste in my mouth. A dull ache in my jaw. I knew what I had to do. That night was a Tuesday. I drove back out to Route 9, my heart pounding with a desperate junkie's hope. And he was there. In the exact same spot, a statue carved from shadow. I pulled over. He got in, the same profound silence, the same empty miles, the single chime from the radio, the same soul-shaking, ecstatic release the moment he was gone. It became my ritual, my medicine. Every Tuesday, I made the pilgrimage. I'd let all my accumulated stress, my petty fears, my deep-seated dread, soak into the silence of the car, and he would take it. He'd just open the door and carry it all away into the night, leaving me pristine and peaceful. My life bloomed. Without the constant hum of anxiety, I could think clearly. I got a raise. I started having drinks with coworkers. I felt, for the first time, like I was a participant in my own life, not just a terrified spectator. The price was a few gallons of gas and a silent ride with my own personal ghost. But tolerance is a bitch. After a few months, the high began to dull. The peace only lasted 2 days, then 1. The silent man was still taking something, but it was like he was just skimming the surface, leaving the old, deep-seated rot untouched. I needed a bigger dose. And if he fed on the rot, I realized with the cold, clear logic of an addict, I just had to give him more to eat. I started cultivating my own misery. I became a farmer of fear. At first, it was small things. I'd forget to pay my rent, just to spend a few days with the ice-cold dread of the eviction notice taped to my door. I'd volunteer for impossible projects at work, knowing I'd have to drown myself in stress and caffeine, just to feel that raw, vibrating panic. And it worked. The more I shredded my nerves during the week, the more divine the release was on Tuesday night. The high was back, better than ever, so I pushed it. My sister, Priya, is the only family I have left. She'd call to check on me, her voice always warm with concern. So one Sunday, I picked a fight. A nasty one. I dredged up old pains, twisted her words, said things I knew were unforgivable, just to hear her voice break before she hung up. The guilt was a physical weight, a sickness in my gut. It was exquisite. The following Tuesday was the best high I'd ever had. I was tearing my life down to its foundations just to have better material to feed the man in the dark. The coughing started about a month ago. A dry, hacking thing at first. I chalked it up to the stress I was putting myself under. But then it got worse, a deep, rattling cough that shook my whole body. 2 weeks ago, I was in the bathroom at work, convulsing over the sink, when I coughed something up. It wasn't phlegm. It wasn't blood. It was a thick, black, syrupy substance like tar, with a smell like damp, rotting soil. The doctor was a young guy with kind, worried eyes. He listened to my lungs, his brow furrowed. He sent me for a CT scan. When he called me back into his office, he didn't look at me. He just stared at the glowing images on the monitor behind him. I don't know what I'm looking at, Amos, he said, his voice a whisper. He turned the monitor. My lungs, my liver, my spine, they were threaded with dark, spidery growths. They weren't tumors, not in any way he recognized. They looked like a black fungus, like crystalline structures of petrified shadow blooming on my organs. It's everywhere, he said, finally meeting my eyes. It's aggressive. But it's not like any cancer I've ever seen. There's no record of anything like this in your medical history. It's as if it all just appeared, fully formed, in the last few weeks. I just sat there, the blood draining from my face. He kept talking, using words like exploratory surgery and experimental treatments, but his voice was just a dull buzz. I was thinking of the man on Route 9. I was thinking of the silence, and the chime, and the glorious clean feeling afterwards. He never destroyed it, he never took it away. He just took all my abstract pain, all my panic and guilt and dread, and gave it back to me. He folded it up, compressed it, and planted it inside me to grow. The rot in my bones wasn't a phantom anymore, it was real. I could see it on the screen. Realistically, the doctor said, his voice heavy with a verdict he didn't want to deliver, I don't know how much time you have. I've never seen anything spread this fast. But I knew. The doctor couldn't cure me. There's no cure for this. And in that moment of pure crystalline certainty, a strange thing happened. I felt a calm I hadn't felt since the last Tuesday ride. I'm dying. That's a fact. And with that knowledge comes a whole new flavor of fear. It's a vast oceanic terror. The fear of what comes next. The fear of the pain. The fear of simply ending. It's the ultimate anxiety. The mother lode. The strongest dose I've ever had. And I know exactly what to do with it. I walked out of the hospital an hour ago. My lungs feel heavy, but I can still breathe. I can still drive. My grandmother's old gold Chrysler is waiting for me in the parking lot, and tonight is Tuesday. I'm writing this on my phone as a warning, as a confession. Be careful of the empty roads and the silent men who offer to lighten your load. It's better to carry your own pain. It's better to live with your own rot. Because the things that offer to take it from you aren't trying to help. They're just looking for somewhere else to plant it. I'm not scared anymore. It's funny. My decision is made. The doctor said my time is short. Why should I spend it choking in a hospital bed? Why not spend it in that clean, perfect, godlike peace, even if it's just for one last night? It's almost dark now. Time to go. The road is calling. And I know, with absolute certainty, he'll be out there on the shoulder, waiting. I have one last gift for him. A beautiful, terrible gift. One final ride.